Many of your favorite OnlyFans models and porn stars grew up in religious households. That's what we're going to talk about today. Women who grew up in church and turned out to be sex workers. So when asked why some of these women came from the stereotypical religious households, got into sex work, there seemed to be common reasons as to why. Number one, sexual repression. The church and parents do not foster a good relationship between a young girl and her sexual urges. This leaves them unprepared for when sex work becomes a part of their life, and curiosity about sex work, along with lacking the tools to be able to navigate sex in modern society, can distort their view of sex in their own body. So, you're teaching people to have shame with something that's natural. And, this is something I personally had to get over. I can't go into too much detail. I don't want to embarrass myself here, but unless there is an arranged marriage for you when you are 18 to 22, it's really not your fault. This is the modern world, and you have a sex drive. Men don't need to feel guilty about sleeping around, because what else are they supposed to do? They don't need to feel guilty about they have a sex drive. So the second thing is rebellion. Many women from extremely religious households grew up with strict rules, and sex work and whoredom gave them the feeling of rebelling against the rules and religion that controlled them when they were young. Yeah, women, we love to rebel. If there's a rule, we just love breaking it. So liberalism and female empowerment, modern women get exposed to liberal ideas like going to college or large cities, and they view the religion that they grew up in as patriarchal and outdated. Now, again, most religions are not patriarchal because they are not obedient to male authority, because most men listen to women. Most men aren't red pill. Most men have no understanding of female nature. So it's just not really something that is helpful. Now, let's look at a few porn stars and OF models that used to be religious. So London Rose talks about her religious upbringing and how she got started into sex work. So, raised in a strict religious family, says her own mom called her a whore. A porn star who was raised in a strict religious family claims that her own mother called her a whore after she revealed her job. London Rose from the U.S., was 6 when her parents decided to convert to fundamentalist Christianity. Her childhood revolved around religion, including Sunday school and church events, while shopping, nail polish, makeup, and beauty were banned as they went against the Bible. But when she shunned the faith in favor of adult movies, her parents were not supportive. I can't imagine why. I can't imagine how that would happen. Speaking exclusively to Daily Star about her family finding out, London said, "Oh boy, my mom called me when I worked at the Bunny Ranch, and she said, 'So how's being a whore?' And I said calmly, 'It's great, I love it, but I'm going to end this call and your negativity.'" Sadly, London turning to the sex industry meant the end of her relationship with her parents. The star admitted, "My parents and I don't have much of a relationship since I left the church." She added, "This was essentially the end of the conversation about my job. My aunts and uncles think it's pretty cool, and they're proud of what I've accomplished on my own." But London chooses not to discuss her past with her clients and adds that they are not bothered either way. The star laughed. "I think political views, religious preferences, and climate change should never be discussed with clients." During London's childhood, radio, TV, and even swimming pools were strictly forbidden, as women were made to wear homemade dresses and down to their calves. But despite this, she claims she always knew she wanted to work in the industry. She said previously, "I left the church when I was at the age of 18, and my parents disowned me." During her teens, London was always curious about sex work, and she decided to join the industry. She was a virgin. She admitted, "Yeah, these are the virgins you get nowadays." "I had no knowledge whatsoever. I saw 3 women on TV at the time, and they embodied everything I want to be. I got into sex work one sugar daddy at a time." So again, what does this mean? Usually in churches, the dynamic is the mother wants to go to the church. Men don't like groups, and women get more power the more people they know in a social network. They can destroy your reputation. They can, do this, do that. And because women, their only form of violence is social groups. So generally what's going to happen is the woman goes to a church and she brings the guy. And usually it's really not about the mothers wanting the kids to be good people. It's about them wanting to use religion to control their husband and their children, no matter how dirty of a past they have. And to be honest, this really messes kids up. I saw this a lot where I'm from. Because when you love someone, you want them to be their own person and make the decisions that are best for their life. Obviously, you don't want your kid in sex work. But what oftentimes happens is the parents, impose their will on the kids. And, after the age of 18, you did what you could. You can't really fix it after that. Okay, there's a Brazilian star, grew up in church, and says God is cool with her sex work. This is amazing. Okay, evangelical Christian star believes God is cool with it. A star has outraged churchgoers by claiming she is an evangelical Christian who believes there's nothing wrong with her work in the eyes of God. Camila Warneck is one of the hottest adult movie stars in Brazil and has appeared in hundreds of erotic movies. Now, the 25-year-old who grew up in a deeply religious household has caused controversy with her claims in an interview on an X-rated TV show, Olandia. The hardcore actress declares she has an evangelical faith, but she doesn't believe it clashes with her career because she's a good person at heart. So again, women see being a good person as being nice. It's never any works, right? It's never, doing something to make society better. But I'm nice. The hardcore actress declares, host Nicole Puzzi, who has interviewed dozens of sex industry stars, appears surprised when she asked, but how do you relate to your work because people believe actresses cannot be evangelical and be religious? So again, she wants the virtue signaling of religion with being able to be as slutty as she wants. People and this is how they control you. They say, well, they're judgmental if you notice. People are very judgmental. They try to make you conform in a way that they think an evangelical should be because society says so. So this is, again, picking and choosing religion and Christianity. But I don't agree with this. I think God sees in our hearts. He judges the good and the bad things that you do, and I do good things for people. I'm a good person. That's what matters. The clip went viral on social media, condemning her to burn in hell, while others said she has the right to do what she wants. The late-night online magazine show includes risque striptease by the sultry Rio model, in which she wields a collection of dangerous weapons, including a gun and a knife, while dancing suggestively as she undresses for the camera. It's a performance and a lifestyle that has her intensely religious family would disapprove of if they knew. My family doesn't have a clue what I do for a living. I haven't told them, and to be honest, I don't care if they find out. In fact, the X-rated actress has already upset her church-going family by divorcing her husband of 3 years and moving in with a woman. She revealed, my family was shocked when they found out. It took them a while to accept because their evangelical beliefs and prejudice against gay relationships made it hard for them to come to terms with my decision. They think it's just a phase I'm going through, and that may well be the case, but one day I might shock them even more because I'm prepared to live with anyone as long as they make me happy, and that could include finding love with a transsexual. Warneck left home at 15 to live on her own because of family issues. She doesn't disclose her reasons for doing so. As a child, I wanted to be a ballerina, but I discovered I loved having sex when I was a teen, and especially when people were watching. So again, remember, there's this idea that sex workers are abused and that the only reason they're in sex work is because they have to. No, they get a high off of having sex on camera. They love the attention. One New Year's Eve, I was making out in a tent with a guy I had just met, and people outside could see what was going on by the shadows cast behind the tent. It made me really excited and turned on to know they were watching what we were doing. The sexy star, who Puzzi said looked too young to be behaving badly because of the braces on her teeth and her fresh-faced beauty, got a job as a stripper when she turned 18. She said, I never thought about working in the adult movie industry until a friend invited me to do a raunchy sex show with her. 3 months later, I was invited to take part in an X-rated film, and I was curious about what it involved. I decided to accept the offer. I love my work, and I want people to appreciate and respect what I do. It's a job where I make good money and I'm successful. I still have a normal life, and when I get the chance, I go to church with the Bible in my hand. Yeah, I mean, this is horrible, right? You guys, I kind of was thinking the other day. So a woman that's waiting until marriage, let's say, or a woman that doesn't marry and does no degeneracy. You know, in a way, the sex workers offer more value to society than women working useless jobs in human resources that stay alone and single. I would almost argue that the sex worker does more good for society because she saved marriages. Like, she at least, there's some sexless man out there that at least, that problem was like fixed for him. You're essentially a nun devoted to your religion. Mormon Star 30 reveals how she abandoned her faith after abstaining from sex for 9 years. A former Mormon told us how she abandoned her religion to become a star after spending years sexually repressed. Andy Andrews, 30, joined the church when she was 17 after growing up in a religious household and spent 9 years observing its rules until moving to LA to try to become an actress. When that failed, she started stripping and was into the industry. Now she's telling you how she chose to leave her faith after abstaining from sex for 9 years. Guys, that's not healthy. I don't care what anyone says. 9 years with no sex. Something's wrong. I was very sexually repressed. You're essentially a nun devoted to your religion for a long period of time. Andrews, who has not shared her real name, grew up in the Pacific Northeast in what she describes as a small town. She did not specify what state she calls home. Age 17, she was able to choose what church she wanted to join. She had already had sex once, but decided to recommit herself to abstinence once she was formally part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So remember, we don't have families anymore, and nobody's really marrying young. And so women go to these groups for direction in their life because we don't really think for ourselves, right? The church took me in, was so welcoming, and wanted to do well by me, she said. She then spent 18 months converting and staying committed to the religion until she had sex again at 26. Andrews then left the church for good in 2017 after being told she could not be a bridesmaid in her sister's wedding because the dress she wanted to wear was too revealing. Okay, that was the final straw. The problem is just that premarital sex is denied, but they make it out to be a very serious sin and a shameful thing to do. Now, again, if they have an outlet, if they're doing like arranged marriages and stuff, but they're not really doing, that. The deeper I got into religion, the farther I got from my own identity. She moved to LA with hopes of becoming an actress, but struggled to find work and ended up working as a stripper. In that job, she was contacted by agents, and she partnered with one in January and is now working in the industry. She was named Penthouse Magazine's Pet of the Month this month. Andrews said her religious family was very supportive of her career. I knew they'd be a little shocked when I told them about my adult work. While they've been open-minded about her new career, they're also averting their eyes. My brother said, "I will never, ever watch your but you seem happier, so I support your decision." She is beautiful, actually. Yeah, she's very pretty. I'd give her a strong 7. She was probably an 8 in her youth. But yeah, this is when you tell women that they can't do something for a long time, we just want to do it more. But in my opinion, you really just gotta tell women they can. You gotta give women the option to be married young. All right, the next one. A pastor left her toxic church to become a queer stripper. She said it sparked her queer awakening. When stripper and OnlyFans creator Nicole Mitchell finished her first ever nude photo shoot, she got into her car and wept. 2 years later, she had decided to walk away from the evangelical Christian values she lived with for most of her life. Values that taught her that sexually open women were ungodly. I was devoted to becoming the best wife and mother there ever was. I became a homemaker, making everything from scratch, sewing clothes for my children, and trying hard to be who I was told to be, Mitchell said. But during that shoot, when Mitchell took off her shirt and then her pants, she never felt closer to God. Mitchell said that the rigidity of her religious upbringing was toxic and ultimately pushed her away from it and her family, who are still evangelical Christians. As part of their religion, they believe only men can be religious leaders like pastors, she said. Looking back, Mitchell said she repressed her sexuality due to fear Christianity instilled in her. When she left home, exposed herself to other religions and types of people, and ended her 10-year marriage, Mitchell began to challenge her beliefs. Today, she's not religious at all, just spiritual, she told Insider. Mitchell said she feels more like herself than ever before now that she lives as a queer woman, a divorced mother of 3, and an OnlyFans content creator and stripper who makes a living by exploring her sexuality. Her ex-husband and Bible school spurred her decision to leave Christianity. Mitchell met her husband when they were both living in Korea. She said he was her gateway drug to a more liberal, albeit still religious lifestyle. He urged her to become a pastor at their non-evangelical mega church when they later moved to Florida together, which she did. At first, the work felt like an oasis to my soul, Mitchell said. She was passionate about speaking to her religious community on her own terms as an equal to men. But her parents and siblings viewed her pastor role as an abomination because it went against her evangelical beliefs. I was told I was sinning. I was told I was violating God's words. I was corrupting the design of men and women. I'm an embarrassment, you know. I was told to never mention my family because they taught me better than that, Mitchell said. It hurt that her family didn't want to be associated with her because of her decision to be a pastor, she said. Compared to other women who did things like drugs and sex work, Mitchell saw herself as a good girl and wanted her parents to see that too. But they seemed to fixate on her sins. Mitchell said, so she decided to cut off contact. To this day, she hasn't introduced them to her children. In seminary school in 2017, Mitchell said she fully began to lose her religion when she studied scripture and people with diverse religious backgrounds. I realized just how whitewashed, male-centric, and heterocentric my religion was, Mitchell said. Being a pastor once brought her fulfillment, but now she was starting to feel disingenuous while preaching her religion. She tried going to churches with a queer or non-white focus, but felt disconnected from Christianity. In 2019, Mitchell dropped out of the seminary and moved to California with her husband and 3 children for a fresh start. Instantly, Mitchell noticed a change of pace out west. She met a woman who seemed empowered by their individuality and sexuality, which made her feel like she was able to shed her Midwestern housewife persona and step into her risk-taking and exuberant personality. She started modeling, acting, and making erotic content on OnlyFans. At first, Mitchell's husband supported her OnlyFans work, buying her lingerie and taking photos for her to post. She was always the more religious one, so she figured she had nothing to worry about. But 5 months after the move, his support came to a standstill when he had a drunken realization that he needed more control in their marriage or it wouldn't work. He said he needed to give up modeling and acting to return to previous duties as a stay-at-home wife. It totally hit me out of nowhere. I was shocked and horrified, and I begged and bawled. Okay. Realizing they'd become completely incompatible partners, they got divorced in 2020, and Mitchell began what she refers to as her slut phase. She went on dates and had her first orgasm at the hands of a partner, which made her sob. Ew. After that, she refused to sleep with men that couldn't make her come, so she explored her own sexuality through her job as a sex worker. Now Mitchell remembers feeling attracted to women as early as 6, when she couldn't stop staring at Jennifer Connelly's breasts when she began to unzip her too tight dress in the 1991 movie Rocketeer. But she didn't fully come to accept it till her mid-30s after spending most of her life disconnected from her body. I've been queer since I was a teenage girl. But because there was a lot of punishment in the environment I grew up in, I very quickly learned to shove it down and just be who they needed me to be, Mitchell said. Becoming a sex worker helped her heal her relationships and her sexuality and her intuition, she said. Since making authentic OnlyFans content requires understanding your own limits, turn-ons, and fantasies, Mitchell said she had to explore that part of herself deeply. In doing so, she had her first orgasm with another woman and made fellow queer sex workers climax when she performed oral sex on them. Mitchell, who used to have deep feelings of falling in love with the atheist, surprised herself with fearlessness and openness to something completely new. She wished her family could accept her for how she is, rather than seeing her as the bad guy in the story. Still, Mitchell is happy for her with her religion-free life. I think the only gift it gave me was the gift of contrast. I feel like clarity comes from contrast, she said, and that contrast gave me so much clarity about what was true and what was fear-based. I realized much of my religious upbringing was rooted in fear and control when all I wanted was love and freedom. All right, and last but not least, All right. Tell me if this audio comes in okay. We got Sophia Richie. Can we hear this?
Is reportedly not only a virgin, but a Christian. Sophie Rain is now the biggest OnlyFans star, earning $43 million a year. And she said recently in an interview that she's a virgin and none of her
Cap.
her content is her fully engaging, if you know what I mean. Now, I don't struggle to believe that she believes in God. I actually applaud her for remaining a virgin at 20 and in the corn industry, because there are a lot more religious looking people, I could say, that aren't virgins. My problem here is earning money from the devil while proclaiming love in your heart for God, because Matthew's gospel reads, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And if your heart is fully in loving the Lord, I just don't think there's any way you could earn money like this without feeling an insane amount of guilt. But let me know, do you guys believe that she's a Christian and a virgin?
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. Yeah, cap. Pearl, are you a believer? Do you know what? I do believe in God, but Christian women have made me question my faith a lot because they're just such terrible people. And the men, because they're just such simps. I'm like, where is the patriarchal religious? I'm Catholic, but God, these Christian women are just blackpilled me a little bit. But yeah, the biggest reason that you get these sex workers that come out is because they're repressing their sexuality, which is something that's natural. And when you tell women and men too that something is bad from a young age that they naturally want to do, and really, everyone does it anyway. You have to have some sort of, you got to be doing arranged marriages in the churches and working with people to get together. And if you're not doing that, you're shit out of luck.